Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on Calgary's Business. Joining me today is Marc Whitehead, founding partner and CEO of Emotive Technologies. Thanks for joining us today, Marc.
Great. Thanks for having me on, Mario.
Let's start just with a simple question. Tell me what Emotive Technologies is.
Well, we're an engagement firm. We aren't really a research company or an ad agency. We're an engagement firm. And we've developed some unique technologies that enable companies to understand and quantify the attitudes that are driving the behaviors that people have. And it could be from an external audience, like a customer base, or it could be internally with staff members. How are they engaged with you? And what does that mean in terms of their actions with you?
Okay, now, you just had a survey, the COVID-19 Pulse report. What are the key findings from that report?
Well, there's a lot, and it was done across North America, and it was as interesting to see the differences in Canada and the US as it was to understand across a number of different categories. I would say probably the single most interesting finding was that the majority of people, 69%, are actually expecting brands to lead the way in helping them feel more confident about the state of the economy and about their participation in it than they are looking for leadership from governments or healthcare agencies. So that was certainly a surprising, I would say, finding. One of the other things that we tried to dive a little deeper into specific categories to understand what were the driving attitudes in those categories. And one of the things we found was that trustworthiness, which is something that is pretty important these days when there's a lot of differing messages in the marketplace, was important across all categories, but not as a differentiator. That was table stakes. If you're in the retail space, if you're in the mobile technology space, if you are a bank, if you are a quick serve restaurant, trustworthiness was just a requirement for me to even consider engaging with you. There were other things that rose to the top, things like joyfulness. Give me a reason in amidst everything that's going on in the world to put a smile on my face. And in fact, that's another important thing to note, Mario, is when we talk with consumers, we don't ask them, how joyful does this brand make you feel towards them? We ask questions that are symptomatic of those kinds of feelings. So we'll ask, how likely is this brand going to put a smile on your face? Or how much do you believe this brand has your back as a representation for dependability?
What do you think brands can learn from a survey like this?
Well, much like I would say surveys from the 60s and 70s when the economy was not in a great position and the advertising associations were encouraging marketers to double down rather than cut their marketing spend. I would say with all of the inconsistencies of feelings and beliefs that people have in general toward governments and agencies and people and brands, it's more important than ever to listen rather than just decide what you should be saying to them. Another important thing that's been happening, I think, a little bit recklessly is marketers saying we're in this together. And if you can demonstrate that you're in this together, it's okay to say that. But if you can't walk the talk, you're going to dig yourself a deep grave. And I would argue that it's much better for you to just demonstrate that you're in it with consumers and have them come to that conclusion rather than you telling them that.
Okay. How can brands, engage consumers emotionally?
By understanding what emotions are actually driving that engagement. When I talk with brand leaders and leadership in companies across North America, and I ask them how important is engagement, they'll almost universally say yes. And then I'll ask them, how do you know that people are engaged with you? And they either have a look of puzzlement or they'll give me some information that may not actually represent engagement. One example, for example, is oftentimes they'll say, well, we do customer satisfaction surveys all the time. And I will tell them that in my experience, just because a customer is satisfied doesn't mean they're engaged. In fact, sometimes the most engaged customers are the least satisfied, or at least the most vocal about their dissatisfaction. That's how you know they're engaged, because they have higher expectations of you. They want you to improve, and they're voicing that opinion. And so you don't want to pay attention to the silent majority, 9 out of 10 hotels people who don't write a letter of complaint. It's the one person who is writing a letter of complaint who is saying, I think you can do better, and I'm engaged with you, and I want you to do better in order for you to earn back my business. Those are the people that we need to listen to, and we need to listen to honestly and transparently, and then respond to by understanding what is it that they want to feel, or what is it they want to believe. The right and the left brain sides of our relationship with brands that is going to help me build better engagement long term.
Okay, super. Thanks for joining us today, Mark.
Thanks, Mario. Take care.
Okay, that was Marc Whitehead, who is founding partner and CEO of Emotive Technologies. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on Calgary's Business.